Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right?
Oh!
The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa,
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
and he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score! And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs. Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast with this motley crew. If I was Vince Neil, I would maybe sing, "We're on our way. We're on our way. Stone Cold Jones." Is he staying home or not? We don't know. We got a lot to talk about on this week's episode. I'm sitting here with Sterling. We've tagged Sneed. We've trusted Chris. We've got other business that we can attend to before free agency begins. But our first order of business, as always, is saying hello to all of you who listen and hang out, as well as saying hello to my co-host. Sterling, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm feeling like a live wire right now.
I'm a live wire.
Probably my favorite Motley Crue song. That really gets me.
That's like a good hype song.
Yeah, like Live Wire really gets me going. I was going to go on like a whole list of Motley Crue songs, but I thought
Kickstart My Heart is a good one too.
Yeah, but that's overplayed. If you want to go down a notch, again, it's still a popular song. Just, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. I like it. What's your favorite all-time Motley Crue?
Probably Live Wire. Honestly, I think it's probably my favorite. Oh. That one, Shout at the Devil's a great one. Yep. Like that one, that's a good song.
Old Crew.
Yeah.
Because at some point they broke through with Dr. Feelgood and became like mainstream, like Metallica Black Album. But you're going like 2 or 3 albums back from that.
Yeah. Shout at the Devil's great. What's their cut? When I get to the bottom, I go back to the top of the slide. Their cover of the Beatles song.
Oh, I don't know.
With Charles Manson. We don't need to talk about it. We're going to talk Chiefs. We don't need to talk
Anyway, here we are. Sorry, folks.
Sorry, this is not a Motley Crue show. This is a Chiefs show. And while it might look like a Motley Crue on the defensive line, if Chris Jones is not there, we all sure hope he is back.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about, folks. I think a lot of you have questions. We have questions at this time of year. Today was the franchise tag deadline. And the Chiefs were one of, I think, 8 or 9 teams to actually use it. The Patriots used the transition tag just to be different because they always have to do something a little bit different there with Kyle Duggar.
6 times in the last 15 years. 6 times in the last 15 years, a transaction tag has been actually used. If those of you don't know what a transaction tag is. Transition tag, I apologize. Apparently, I don't know what it is either. It's the top 10 salaries of that position, while the franchise tag is the top 5. Another little fun fact. Do you know who the last person to get the transition tag was?
No, I had an uncle who went through a transition, but no.
Kenyon Drake with the Cardinals in 2020. If you want to think of Kenyon Drake, the last guy to get it.
Boy, that's a good history of memorable production there. We're going to dive into Sneed, what we know, what we think could happen, what could happen. We're going to dive into what I think is a very dicey and risky week for the Chiefs with Chris Jones. We'll talk about this in a little bit. Also, I have some moves I think they're going to make or want to make, and I know you do too, Sterling. But before we get into all that, look, we got great content today. But we also have great deals today for some people.
And if you haven't downloaded the BetMGM app yet, you will definitely want to take advantage of this limited time offer. New users who sign up through our link must deposit $10 and place a first wager of $5 on any live bet. Once your bet is placed, you will instantly receive $150 in bonus bets. You'll get 3 bonus bet tokens of $50, allowing you to make multiple wagers with your bonuses. This offer is only available if you sign up through our link, bit.ly/ArrowMGM. You can find that link in the description below our stream, as well as scan the QR code on screen to start signing up. Again, the link is bit.ly/ArrowMGM. This offer is only available to new customers who are 21 plus and physically present in legal gambling states. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Check the episode description for full terms of the offer to see if you qualify.
Folks, that's why Sterling has the job he has. I mean, he's suave. I'll give him that. Yeah, he'd win most reality shows if he were enter them. Yeah, he does all things well, but it's that vocal ability to go through the fine print that really sets him apart from everyone else who does this. All right, so look, L'Jarius Sneed, let's talk Sneed first. Today's that deadline. Just to properly define things, there is an exclusive tag and a non-exclusive tag. The Chiefs put in a non-exclusive tag on Sneed. What that means is an exclusive tag would have only allowed him to negotiate with the Chiefs, and it would have given him some level of it's either the greater of the averages of the top 5 at his position. And there's all kinds of formula there, but just basically means he's going to be one of the top 5 paid at his position, exclusive rights. But non-exclusive means the Chiefs have given Sneed the option to go negotiate with any team that he wants. He's not under contract. He's not a member of the team. If the Chiefs were to have some sort of like off-season workout or anything, he's not beholden to anything. He's not on the roster. That said, one of 3 things can happen right now with L'Jarius Sneed. If he signs the tender, he plays this year on a 1-year deal worth just under $20 million. It's 19.8 and some change. So, turnout number 1, we still have L'Jarius Sneed in 2024 for just under $20 million. Scenario 2, he agrees to a contract with another team, probably a long-term deal, and that team then owes the Chiefs 2 first-round picks in the future, this year and probably next year's, as compensation. That's on every non-exclusive tag. That feels far-fetched, which is why no one ever really talks about that. The third option is what we have been hearing a lot about, which is a team says, we want to sign him. The Chiefs are like, yeah, we can't sign him. It's too expensive. And the other team goes, well, we're not going to give you 2 first-rounders, so let's both sides agree on trade compensation that adequately makes everyone feel okay about it, somewhere in the middle. And most rumors this offseason have said that's probably around a second-round pick for the chance to grab L'Jarius Sneed from the Chiefs. Some people will say that sounds like too little for a lockdown corner, but you also have to remember you got to pay that guy. The other team has to pay that guy too. So they're paying for the rights to sign a free agent. So that's why, if some of you are like, that draft compensation seems low to the Chiefs, that's why they're. And then, of course, he has to sign a long-term deal with any new team. So those are the 3 scenarios in front of us right now. Sterling, I want to go to you as you kind of look over those 3 scenarios. What is your expectation that you think is going to happen? What would you like to see happen?
I would like to see the 2 first rounders. Ain't going to happen, but I'd like to see it. Peter Morris actually has a very good question in the chat that I think is interesting. I would love to get to that a little bit later on in the show, Peter. Good
let's
question.
bookmark that.
Yeah, if we can bookmark that, Richard, that'd be great. That's actually a fun one there. I think for me, the most realistic possibility that fans probably don't want to hear is I think at best you're getting a late second rounder. At best. I think more than likely the trade compensation is going to be a third because, as you mentioned, you're just getting the rights to sign him.
Yeah.
You don't have him on a contract. It's not like you're like, oh, he still's got 2 or 3 years left. No. You're trading for the right to sign him.
Yeah.
What's interesting is you look at Jalen Ramsey, what he got when he was traded from the Rams to Miami. He was not on the franchise tag, but he was under contract, very large contract, right? It was massive. And he was traded for a 3rd rounder. 2 things here. At that time, I believe he was only 1 year older than L'Jarius Sneed currently is. Okay. 2, he was known as the best corner in football, right? Love L'Jarius. He's not known as the best corner in football.
Yeah.
And 3, he actually reworked his deal with Miami. So I'm sitting here going, if Jalen Ramsey was only able to bring back a third, why do we all of a sudden expect that he's going to bring back more than that? Now, the obvious one's going to be, well, look at what Frank Clark brought back. Look what a lot of these defensive ends brought back. Edge rushers will always bring back more than a corner. It's just the nature of the beast. Fair or unfair, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to calm expectations. And if the Chiefs were to get a high second or a mid-second, I think then we just sit back and go, awesome. This is even more than I thought the Chiefs were going to get. If he gets a second and fifth, second and fourth, oh, even better. I'm just trying to lower expectations. And then if something greater happens, we're all happy about it. And then it also brings to the question, or brings to the equation, if you only get a late third, right? What if it's only a late third that's being offered for L'Jarius? Do you say, you know what? I say we keep him for 1 year. I know we're not getting anything for him at this point, but we think 1 year of L'Jarius is worth a late third. I think that's a real conversation the Chiefs are going to have. There are so many ways for this to play out. It sounds like L'Jarius is pretty amenable to about everything. He's not going to sit out. It'd be asinine for him to sit out because he's 27, coming off of a season where his knee flared up game after game. He played through it, give him a lot of credit. But again, like I've said many a time on this show, and I'll say it once more, it shouldn't be fire alarms, but it should be the smoke alarm saying, hey, it's in the back of your head, come on now, we need to keep an eye on that. It would not behoove him to sit out because corner, not quite like running back, but more in the ilk of running back where age definitely plays a factor.
Yeah. Let me just add a couple notes about Sneed that I have while you were talking. One, it's just outside of Sneed. You can correct me here if you think I'm wrong. It's bad business in general in the NFL for any sustained success to pay top of the market deal for anybody. It's just across the board, bad financial business to pay top, to have to pay when that player's value is at its zenith. You don't want to do it. The Patriots were masters at saying, hey, we're going to get rid of a guy, and we may even get rid of him with 1 or 2 good seasons left. But what we're never going to do is pay him at his highest or trade him at his lowest. We're never doing that. And at this point, if you look back a year ago, if you look at any conversation we were having a year ago, there was very little to zero chatter of anyone saying, hey, we got to keep both Stone Cold and L'Jarius. We have to keep L'Jarius. It was only after this year, right? So it shows you how it doesn't mean that Sneed wasn't good last year. It just means corner is mercurial. And it means that Sneed was so good that we're looking at the abundance of corners and going, I could still be convinced to keep Sneed around here. He was that good. At the same time, if you have a storehouse of something already and a guy is at the highest he's ever going to cost, I just have a hard time believing, like when you say he could stick around for a third rounder. I think there are scenarios where maybe he could stick around, but I think it would be on a renegotiated deal with a lower cap figure. I don't think the Chiefs can stomach $20 million on the books to Sneed for this coming season. And part of that is informed by just, I don't think they want to pay him top of the market deal.
Obviously a different regime, but the Chiefs have traditionally not paid cornerbacks. I mean, going back to Brandon Carr, Brandon Flowers, Marcus Peters, obviously, I mean, the list goes on and on of solid corners. Hell, even Kendall Fuller. If you look at Kendall Fuller this year with Washington, he was insane. He was phenomenal.
He was allowed to walk. L'Jarius walked.
L'Jarius, why again, it's just one of those situations where they trust their development. They trust their ability to identify talent. It's a position of overabundance. They just don't need to pay. Yeah. When you can develop talent and draft talent there in later positions, again, like L'Jarius Sneed was a fourth rounder, why would you pay top dollar? Now, again, there's always going to be exceptions to the rule. Mahomes, exception to the rule. Travis Kelce, exception to the rule. And I do think Chris Jones is an exception to the rule. Yeah. Now, Chris and Mahomes specifically play maybe the 2 most important positions in football. I always say quarterback and who affects the quarterback by getting after them. That's kind of the game. That's what it is. Cornerback, as great as they are, at most, you're taking one player away. At most. Defensive edge rushers, just in general, I don't want to say just defensive tackles, like Myles Garrett, Chris Jones, Aaron Donalds, they can affect the entire play by themselves. And that's what the difference is, kind of like quarterback. And Kelsey's a little different because tight end just doesn't get paid the same way as other top of the market types of players. If Travis Kelce was a wide receiver, I wonder if we were having an entirely different conversation, right? If he was going to be getting paid $30 million instead of 15, like that's a huge difference here. I just don't think it's in the Chiefs' best interest, and especially based on what their track record has been, I would be pretty shocked if they all of a sudden turned around and paid L'Jarius Sneed top dollar. I just don't see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you as well. Do you think, by the way, I just want to, I'm curious how you think L'Jarius is going to age in this league. If you were a team, you had to pay him for the next 3 seasons, let's say. Do you think, because I'm looking at L'Jarius thing, and this was a contract year performance, right? I mean, you can't separate that. He did it during his contract year. Does that mean he got that much better this year? It could be. He's developmentally on this curve. Maybe he's arrived. Maybe he's going to be a perennial Pro Bowl performer. Could be. But you also mentioned some lingering knee injuries that at least had him on the injury report during the week, missing a little bit of practice, this and that. As you have to pay him, he's coming into his prime. I think he's going to have, there's no reason to think he can't, like he has to be some old man healthy. 27, 28, 29. Those are like good prime years.
Yeah.
That said, would you want to be the team paying him at this point for those years?
No, I don't think I would. And a name I really want to get to here, just to kind of get I have not done this before, so I think it'd be interesting. Patrick Peterson, the Chiefs all-time, he's going to be a Chief that was never been a Chief, right? Patrick, for 7 years. It was for 7 years.
I think I've hoped for that, like 4 different off seasons that Patrick Peterson would show up.
I'm trying to think. His last great year looks like it was probably 2018. At least last Pro Bowl year was 2018. Guess how old he was? 28. Yeah. And again, I love L'Jarius Sneed, but let's be real now. Patrick Peterson in his prime, at least more consistently great than L'Jarius Sneed, right? 1 year of L'Jarius, yeah, I'll grant you that. But consistently over that extended period of time, it was Patrick Peterson clearly, right? So if he started to have a fairly steep decline at 28, then in 29, and then all of a sudden got traded to Minnesota, or signed with Minnesota, and then now he's with Pittsburgh, played last year, and he was fine. Again, Patrick Peterson is still a viable option at age 33, but no one's considering him this stud. And even at age 30, 29, no one's sitting here going, yeah, we should have paid Patrick Peterson top dollar. I think it's a pretty good comp. It's how my wide receiver list typically drops off at age 31. There's always going to be exceptions to the rule, and I might miss. But more times than not, I'm going to be spot on.
Yeah.
That's what I think it comes down to. Love L'Jarius, but I don't know if that's a risk that I and the Chiefs, for example, are willing to take. I think Patrick Peterson is the name that I personally would look for.
Just to hit a couple comments here, Josh Clayton says he will age less at corner than at defensive tackle like Jones is, unfortunately. Interesting take. ADG says it's quite a luxury to have a Hall of Fame corner behind your stud free agent corner. Yes, it is. Let's go. By the way, I want to say thanks to Bumpa BB for the super chat. Chris is gone. Chris is gone, he says. We'll talk about this in a second, actually. 8 days until the open market. Someone will overpay. Before we get to Chris, and thanks for the super chat there, we will address that. Let's make a prediction, since I'm only with you until like next week at this time, and I think Sneed will be taken care of in the next week, before free agency. That being the case, what's your prediction for L'Jarius Sneed in the next week?
Oh, great question. Let me look at a couple of. I need to look at draft picks for teams very quickly. If you have a name in mind, feel free to do yours first.
I don't have a team in mind. I think that the Detroit Lions make a lot of sense given their need. I think the Arizona Cardinals make even more sense given their need. You have John Gannon as the remember Jonathan Gannon is the new head coach there in Arizona. By the way, Sterling, the Arizona Cardinals secondary, I forgot about this. Last year, they're playing Rashad Fenton and Antonio Hamilton in that secondary.
Yeah.
Do you remember those names? They played last year. They played 3 rookies, Antonio Hamilton and Rashad Fenton. That was their group of cornerbacks in Arizona. You have a head coach in John Gannon who came over from the Eagles, who's a defensive first head coach. He's going to want his Darius Slay out there. The Cardinals have an abundance of draft picks. They've got a couple seconds. I think the Chiefs will get a second, and I think they'll get one from the Cardinals. And I think L'Jarius Sneed is going to be the new lockdown corner. And I think the Chiefs are going to be very, very glad to ship him off to the NFC, where really all you need to do is be able to knock over, I don't know, a couple of Weebles, and then you're automatically in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think it's a good call. I think Arizona actually makes a lot of sense based on the draft capital they actually have. I looked at Atlanta. Atlanta makes a lot of sense because they're really looking for another corner down in Atlanta. They think they're going to have the NFC South. Again, I personally believe that Kirk Cousins is going to be an Atlanta Falcon. I think they're really trying to take advantage of a not just down NFC, but a horrendous NFC South.
Oh, man.
So
anybody could step up there. Yeah.
I checked. They have 2/3. I don't think a third specifically might be enough to get it done, at least right away.
Third in the future 6th?
Yeah, maybe a third and a future 5th, something along those lines. But I think that could be an interesting team to watch out for is the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, so you're saying a Falcons trade sometime soon this week. I'm calling Cardinals trade. We both think he's traded and not on the Chiefs.
And it's sad.
Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And it's not necessarily what I want to happen, it's what I think's going to happen. Again, if it's up to me, 3 for 50, 3 for 50. Does he take it? I don't know. I don't think he's taking that.
I mean, if he would, I would pay that. I would pay that because that's not top market deal.
That's 16 and a half per year. It's not top market. You're kind of top 15, maybe top 10-ish, but you're not top of the market.
No, that's silly. That's silly for Sneed. He would never do it.
Yeah.
His agent should never let him. Look, let's talk about that. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I want to get back to the question from Peter, just to wrap up in totality the L'Jarius Sneed talk.
Yeah.
Peter's question. There we go. Thank you, Richard. Would you rather Sneed at 3 for 60, 45 guaranteed, or T. Higgins at 4 for 100, 75 guaranteed? Neither. I think it's a great question, Peter. I think it's a really good question. But for me, I'm out on T. Higgins. I've had a few thoughts on this before. My initial thoughts are I think he's a really good player, but I think he's a really good wide receiver too. I don't personally believe that he is a bona fide wide receiver 1. I know it's fun to say. When Jamar Chase was injured, it was his time to shine. Dog didn't shine. I think he's a really good wide receiver, but I'm not paying a really good wide receiver $25+ million per year. And I do think that might be fairly close to what he's going to get based on his age. I really like T. Higgins. I'm not paying that. And I do think, quite frankly, I think you're right, Peter, that might be about what his market value is going to be. Then Sneed, I think 20 mil per year is just too hefty. I think you and I are on the same page here. That's top dollar at that point. So I think it's a very good question, but at those current numbers, which again, I don't think you're off on, I'm saying no to both.
Wow. I would take that deal for Higgins. I would take it.
No chance.
I think Higgins is a top 20 NFL wide receiver.
The injuries don't scare you. The fact that he's never been able, it's always been Jamar than him. That the fact here again, he has Travis Kelce, but the whole point is to try and get away from Travis Kelce being the guy. Now, Rashee Rice has been emerging, but if you're going to bring in a wide receiver 1 at that price, he better be a damn wide receiver 1.
I think he is. I think the injuries, I get what you're saying. I've even brought that up on Twitter myself, slight concern there. But 25 is not top of the market deal. 25 is 5 less than Tyreek and going, because the cap's going to make it even worse. So if you give me Higgins at 25 per, and he's still that young, I'm taking that deal because I'm a believer. Again, I think he's a top 20.
Are you a believer you couldn't leave her when you try?
I I couldn't leave Davey or Mickey or Peter or who's the fourth monkey, by the way?
I don't remember. I just know it's a great intro.
Anyway, there it is.
I'm not your stepping stone.
Take
Peter.
that last train to Clarksville and get the. All right, here we go. Hey, let's talk Chris Jones here. But I want to talk something else first, just for perspective, because Sterling, let me bring it up this way. I want to bring up a scenario, and I want you to tell me, Connor, you are insane or you may be right. Right, here's my thing. I am worried that the Chiefs are taking a major risk here with Chris Jones. Let me explain it. Chris Jones and the Chiefs, they're saying all the right things, right? They're all saying, oh, yeah, I want to be here. I want to be here too. We want you to finish your career here. I want to finish my career here too. He's like, oh, yeah, I love the Chiefs. Clark's like, I love Chris Jones. Andy Reid, I love Chris Jones. Brett Veach has a heart tattoo. I love Chris Jones. Andy Reid has a lower back tattoo that says, I love Chris Jones. I'm not supposed to say that on the air, but I just did.
Allegedly.
Some things you give away for the people, and I'm giving that away for the people. Look, let me say this. Everyone says the right thing about Chris Jones, but we all got shocked. Two surprising or even shocking things have happened in the midst of all this goodwill. One, the salary cap just went up by over $30 million. Like, that's as much as you're going to pay Chris Jones. That's how much it went up. It went up by an entire Chris Jones contract. So automatically everyone's looking around going, wait, there's more to grab than we thought there were. If you've ever been around people who can grab money, the only thing they're concerned with is grabbing more money. Money does that to people. So when every agent hears there's 30 more million per team to be grabbed, those agents are going to do nothing but want to grab that money. Now, here's the other thing. The Miami Dolphins just looked at Christian Wilkins and said, we're not tagging you. You're hitting free agency. Now, Christian Wilkins is not in the same tier as Chris Jones, but he's a killer run defender with pass rush potential. He's still young. Christian Wilkins is going to reset the market. Now, besides Aaron Donald, like he's not making Aaron Donald, but Christian Wilkins is going to make a ton of money. Here's what I'm saying. All this to say this is Chris Jones's agents are not going to look in the same offseason at Christian Wilkins and go, hey, we'll let you make more than our guy. No fucking way. No fucking way. Chris Jones's agents are going to look at Christian Wilkins and go, whatever you're getting, we need to get more than that because you're not Chris fucking Jones. Sorry for the language, folks, but we're talking about very serious things here called stone cold things, right? Here's what I'm saying. I'm saying suddenly all this goodwill, there's more money out there for Chris Jones to grab. And the guy out there who's going to set a new mark, you know how it goes. Every agent's got to look and go, there's a pecking order here. We got to wait till this guy signs before we sign because we need more money than him. So suddenly, if Chris Jones is going to wait till Wilkins hits free agency, we're going to be waiting for a while. The Chiefs then use their tag so they can't stop Chris Jones from entering the market. And now we got a big problem. Now everyone in Arrowhead may be saying, we're not worried about it. We're all saying the right things here. And I'm going, yeah, you said the right things all year last year. And that dude sat in the stands while you lost to Detroit. So you tell me how much anyone's word is worth when there's a collective 30 million times 32 teams out there extra to grab. To me, here's what I think. I think the Chiefs have rolled the dice unexpectedly and honestly, needlessly. All this talk, I don't know what other team needs 2+ years to negotiate with a guy who's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's your best defensive player since Derek Thomas. He's your best defensive player. He's better than Tamba. He's better than Derek. He's better than Justin. He's better than Marcus. Who else do you want to bring up? Chris Jones is an all-timer. You've needed 2 years to negotiate something with him, and we're still flirting with numbers and now worried about I hope that everyone means what they say and they're going to get a deal done. But I just can't believe he'd even sign for like $27 million when that's less than the entire bump of the cap. I think Chris Jones could get 35 from another team without blinking. And now we're going to roll into, I don't know. I've said way more here than I even meant to say. I haven't given you a chance to say anything. I'm going to open up the floor. I'm sorry. I filibustered this whole thing, but I'm going crazy over here. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, last year I thought the Katz brothers were the two scoops of ass brothers, but this plan is what they want. You have to wait now. And we thought last year when Quinnen Williams signed, okay, it's going to get done. It did not get done. Now you have to wait for Kristen Wilkins because the Miami Dolphins, as you mentioned, did not tag him. It sucks. But now, Chris Jones, you're correct. Why would he? It does not behoove him.
Makes no sense.
I do think 35 is maybe steep, but I do think it's in the realm of possibility. Like, I think it's a legitimate concern. This is what, when Peter asked, where would I spend on money? It's Chris Jones. If it costs me $4 million extra per year, instead of I'd spend it there instead of T. Higgins, instead of L'Jarius, I give it to Chris Jones. I think he is worth it.
Yep.
But I just, it's tough because the cap rose for Kansas City. Yay. It rose for every other team too. And teams that think they are one piece away, teams that think that they're ready to make the next step. Let's just say the next step. The Houston Texans, who have a quarterback on a rookie deal, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, all on rookie deals.
Yeah.
Their best cornerback, their best defensive player, Stingley and Will Anderson on rookie deals. What's that mean? Well, that means they have the money to overpay for Chris Jones. Because
you
CJ
just gave
Stroud,
him an extra $30 million to play with.
Because CJ Stroud has 4 more years on a rookie contract. Tank Dell has 3 more years on a rookie contract. Will Anderson has 4 more years on a rookie contract. Like, the Texans are in a great spot now and for the future. If they can pay and overpay for 3 years of Chris Jones, they can do it. So that is what makes me nervous. Those teams, sure, the Bears, I get it with all the money they have to throw around, but Chris Jones, I don't think wants to go to Chicago and play for that horrendous organization. But a good team, an up-and-coming team, a team that legitimately has a chance to win and has the ability to pay him top dollar, now that is a team that scares me.
Yep. Look, I'm totally with you. Everyone's so used to saying, "Oh, you can't get Aaron Donald money." Here's why we keep throwing out Aaron Donald money as like this top thing. Because of COVID, folks. Every year we were trumping whatever the top of it is. We were trumping it every year until COVID. And then the NFL tapped the brakes on spending and COVID, they kept the cap from going up much at all. And they wanted to hedge their bets and everyone played it safe. And so, quote, Aaron Donald money stayed this market high for a few years. And it made it seem like, now everyone's like, Aaron Donald money, it must be this hurdle that no one's willing to go over. It's like, no, they didn't go over it because for a few years, no one raised the salary cap because of COVID. Now that's over. Now we're back to blowing the cap back through the roof. Look, whoever beats Donald this year, and it will be Chris Jones, Chris Jones will be beat next year. That's the way it works every single year. So, look, there's no more magic figure that no one will cross. It's silly to think that anyone is going to play for COVID cap dollars money. We're past it. We're through it. Anyone throwing out old sounding figures that would have worked in 23 or 22 or 21 is insane. This is a new year. Amplify all your figures by 10% or more, maybe up to 20% for top of the market deals.
It's a bad situation because this should have all been avoided. The Chiefs should have signed Chris Jones last year. Didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because now, again, as you mentioned, the cap rising, they understand this. They understand that when the cap rises, everyone thinks it rises for the base players. Not necessarily. It basically rises for the superstars. It's the same like in baseball. It's why I'm like, well, there's no salary cap. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, the Mike Trouts, the Bobby Witt Jr.'s here in Kansas City. Let's go, baby. Let's go, Royals fans. Come on, baby. but for the average guy, it doesn't rise for the average guy. They're not going to overpay for those dudes. They're going to pay more than the minimum veteran minimum. Like they don't care. The Mike Pinnells ain't getting more money. It's the elite guys that get more money. And so it's going to Chris Jones. It's going to potentially L'Jarius Sneed. Like it's going to this ilk of player. I would just do almost anything to keep Chris Jones here, probably barring the 30. Dude, even 35 mil per year just gives me like an aneurysm right here. Like that just seems insane for a guy that age. Like it just does. And I understand people want him to like, doesn't he want to win a three-peat? Yeah. That's probably third on his list. First is money. Second is money and contract. And third is winning the three-peat. Like we always think that players are going to take less to play for a great organization and win a Super Bowl. When have we been shown that by multiple guys? When have the elite guys really done that? Very, very rare. Because they understand their shelf life in the NFL is not very long. He's already won multiple rings now. I mean, what more does Chris Jones have to prove? He's already in the Hall of Fame. He's already in the Chiefs Hall of Fame, Ring of Honor. All he has left is to, if he wants to, rack up titles and rack up more money.
Yeah. It's money, 1, money, 2, money, 3. Any wide receiver has had the ideal scenario in Kansas City to come play for. You go all the way to the Super Bowl, catch passes from Patrick Mahomes, play alongside Travis Kelce, have your plays called by Andy Reid. Every wide receiver should be signing up to play in Kansas City. They even need wide receivers for that matter. Odell, no thanks. DeAndre Hopkins, no thanks. Josh Reynolds, no thanks. Juju Smith-Schuster needed two off seasons to be convinced to come here. Because it's money, money, money. It's the same thing with Chris Jones. Look, I'm not saying Chris Jones isn't going to get done. I'm not. All I'm saying is, one, it's going to be more pricey than I think people realize. Or the Chiefs really do know that they have real trust and goodwill with Jones. It's already been worked out. And somehow that wasn't in place last year, but it is this year. Maybe somehow all the warm fuzzies and feel goods are true, and they're going to come together and make it work. I'm saying the track record says it meant nothing last year, and now it's pricier this year. And if I'm Chris Jones, unless I really am like just in love with all things Kansas City and Arrowhead, and I really like it has all this emotional meaning, I'm just kicking my legs up, waiting for free agency and waiting until the Houston Texans come in and go, we'll give you 3 years at 105. Come play with CJ Stroud and establish something in Houston. And I take that deal. So yeah, that's my take on it. It's risky. It makes me just frustrated over the whole thing. It's also drama, which is good for viewers, right?
No,
like
dude,
we're going to be riveted.
leave that. No, because it makes me, my age rises, my hairs get grayer. You can't really see on this. I'm starting to get gray hairs, and you can't really see. It's silver fox-esque, some say.
There it is.
Silver fox. Me, I say that. No, I want to know, dude. I want to know. Call me Alanis Morissette. You ought to know. No, I ought to know. I want to know. Super chat here from Justin Hayes. Appreciate you, Justin. Give me Xavier Legette. We need our Debo. Yeah, dude, I like Xavier from, was it South Carolina? If I'm not mistaken, South Carolina. Big body dude, super athletic. A name that I was saying earlier. Actually, I was talking to Harms about, he was going down to the combine. I said, take a look at Xavier Legette for me, baby. Keep an eye on that guy. I know everyone's getting enamored by Xavier Worthy. Let me get a little Xavier Legette action here. So I need to base with him and see how he thought he looked in person. But yeah, I think that's a good call there.
Yeah. We'll be getting way into the draft weeds as the draft gets closer. We should have Harms on the show, by the way. I'm a little miffed that Harms was here in Indy, and I should have given him a buzz. It didn't.
It's on me. It's on me. I didn't let you guys know. I didn't coordinate as your
come on,
as your coordinator.
Yeah. As my yeah, whatever it is. Hey, so this is a big week. Free agency begins on Monday. Legal tampering begins, where players can talk to other teams.
Doesn't legal tampering though sound like an oxymoron? Why can't you just call it like
It's so stupid. The whole thing is stupid to me. Why would you punish someone for making a call on a Sunday that they could make on a Monday? We all know they're talking anyway. Like, let's not. It's like I don't know. It's stupid. Anyway, free agency is next week. Before then, though, the Chiefs have a luxury of being the only team technically to be able to negotiate with their own free agents, get a little biz done before biz. I don't know why I said that. That was really weird. Anyway, what do you think? What are other moves? What business before the big business is taken care of would you like to see the Chiefs happen? I have a few moves I'd like to see, but I'd love to start with you. What's one move? We'll start with one. What's one thing you'd like to see the Chiefs do before free agency begins?
Sign Chris Jones.
Okay, besides what we've spent the last 40 minutes talking about.
Dude, there's not like a ton. Like, I think Darnell Mooney is intriguing based on the contract, but
He's a free agent. You can't sign him before free agency.
So who are you talking about then? Are you just talking about
Okay, so for example,
trading for guys?
Nope. Let me give you two moves I would make. One, the Miami Dolphins released Emmanuel Ogbah a couple weeks ago. Manny Ogbah, right? Remember him?
Oh,
Defensive
sure.
end, right? He had 5.5 sacks last year as a situational pass rusher. Anyone released right now, currently, can be signed right now, currently, because they're not waiting on free agency in a new league year. You can address minor needs right now with some of these guys before having to like get into free agency and all that kind of stuff. So one thing I think seems obvious to me is a signing of Manny Ogbah, because you only need a part-time guy. You got Karlaftis, you got FAU, who needs room to grow, but Aminihu is injured. You can't count on him to start the year. And then you have BJ Thompson. So what I would do is I would sign a guy who only needs and you're probably going to lose Mike Dana.
Yeah, that was my. Is he going to be your Dana replacement? Is what you're saying?
Yeah, he's that fill in for when Aminihu gets back, and then he can take a little bit more of a back seat there. But he's a proven veteran who can still get after the passer, but he's not going to break the bank. Miami just dumped him. He's just sitting out there right now, able to be signed by anyone. I just think a simple. He's played under Spags before. A simple 1-year deal, bring in Manny Ogbah, shore up that role makes a ton of sense to me. The other things I think I'd like to see, make sure you keep Drew Tranquil from ever hitting free agency.
Correct.
I'd like to see that deal this week. I'd rather him not go into free agency and establish his market and then have to pay him. I think I'd like to work out the goodwill that he seems to have in KC. So it's those kind of deals to me are what I'm talking about.
Sure. Then, yeah, I think Drew Tranquil's one. I think Emmanuel Ogbah's interesting. He had, as you mentioned, 5.5 sacks last year. Year prior, only played in 9 games, 1 sack, was not good. But then the 2 years before that, 9 sacks and 9 sacks. Again, I think you're right. He wouldn't cost a lot, and you're hoping that 3 of those 4 years were good. The other year was injured. You're going to chalk that up to injury and say, hey, hopefully he's healthy and he's not fallen off a cliff yet. He's 30 years old. I think that's an intriguing name again. If he's going to be your Mike Dana, I think Dana's going to get more money than people realize, just based on how pass rushers typically get paid, especially at that age. Emmanuel Ogbah's Pro Football Reference page sure is a trip. Did you know they have his nickname as the Nigerian Nightmare? That is absolute BS. That is absurd. That is not it's not. He's not a Koye. Why?
It's insulting.
Yeah. Why is he's not the Nigerian Nightmare?
I don't know. That's egregious. That's worse than any ref issue in the NFL. That's worse than
forward progress. That's equivalent of forward progress on Derek Johnson. That's what it was. Yeah.
I'd rather get a Mark Davis haircut than give anyone else that nickname.
If I can somehow get that removed from Pro Football Reference, will you get a Mark Davis haircut?
I talk big, but there's not a chance.
Uh-huh.
Would you ever get a Mark Davis haircut?
Well, if we did a bet like that, but Matt, come on.
What would it take? How much would it take for you to get a Mark Davis haircut the day before your wedding?
Oh, none amount of money. Like Chris Jones money. Sorry, I can't do that. Looks like you actually still have an unpaid bet here, which is weird.
Wait, what?
Oh, from earlier this year, the under 750 yards for MVS.
Wait,
Sure says Bourbon and Matt Connor's name next to it.
are you making stuff up right now?
Why would I make stuff up? Someone pull the tapes. Richard, pull the tapes. Pull the tapes.
I probably do. I lose every bet I ever make.
Richard asked for the date. I don't have the date, but it's Bets 2023. I have you, Ian McMillan, Tucker Franklin, and Adam Best. Adam Best did his with the soul patch.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Richard, pull the tapes from 2023 and tell us when that was said. Please just go over 2023.
See, Joshua Clayton remembers. He says whiskey. See, yeah, he knew. He knew what the bet was, baby.
No, he's just celebrating whiskey. He's not celebrating whiskey.
It was 750, under 750. You had over because you were.
I would have never said that. I said on the record, I said Kadarius is going down. Sky Moore's never developing. And MVS is going to drop everything until the postseason. If you don't remember that, that's probably because we were drinking too much whiskey. I'm sorry. But
by the way, Emmanuel Ogba, not only the Nigerian Nightmare, his high school he went to was just George Bush, which I had no idea there was just George Bush High. George Bush, like you went to his house. Like, was it homeschooled by good old George? Which George?
The mascots were just WMDs. We're the WMDs.
Here's one from Jim Mint City Collectibles. How about Jeffrey Okuda on the cheap? That feels like a very Veach move, but man, I get he's 25 and he was supposed to be a can't miss prospect, cornerback out of Ohio State a few years ago, went to the Lions, drafted
top 3 pick.
Third?
Top 3. That's a hell of a cornerback to be taken top 3.
Well, and he was at the time known as a can't miss prospect. Injuries
goes to show
concern.
Can't miss can miss. Right?
Look at that. Nathan. I don't know. No, I don't think that's right, but maybe Nathan. No, because Nathan had been before the season started. He tried to say 9:23:23 at 5:38 Central. Thank you, Nathan, for trying, but I think it was before the season. Well, that's September.
I think Nathan's just making stuff up. But I like it. But I appreciate that, actually.
Pull the tapes.
Yeah, anyway. Any other moves that you'd like to see the Chiefs make, or are you just really about like Sneed and Jones?
Yeah, more about just Sneed.
Do you want the Chiefs to keep anyone else off the market? Or are you cool with
Drew Tranquil? But after Drew Tranquil, wow, Nathan thinks he's right. I hope Nathan's right. This is going to be awesome. Mike Edwards.
Nathan, I thought we were friends, dude.
Kareem Hunt. No, dude. No.
By the way, only players can sign right now are those who've been released by their teams. Which, by the way, we should talk about this because he just brought up Kareem Hunt, but this was on our sheet, by the way. The number of big name running backs hitting free agency this year, it's crazy. Like, I think even my mom has heard of 2 of these or 3. Saquon Barkley, Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry, DeAndre Swift, Josh Jacobs. There's more than that, right? Zeke Elliott, although he's kind of out now. Tony Pollard. Like, it's a long list. Do you think the Chiefs are going to like grab a household well-known name and throw him in next to Pacheco or not?
I do think Eckler would be the one I'd be most intrigued about because I think he's such a good pass catcher and he's used to running a split rotation. He's older. I don't think he's going to cost a ton of money just based on his age and the market value.
Won't he go to Las Vegas? Tom Telesco's the GM there now. Same guy who took him in with the Chargers.
I don't know what that relationship is like. I mean, he also he got paid a little bit there, but it's not like he got this top dollar deal. I don't know, man. I think Eckler makes the most sense play style wise with the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not going to sit here and say the Chiefs are going to spend top dollar for Saquon or any of those other names, but I think Eckler is the most intriguing, who probably won't cost a ton. If I'm going running back, to me, the most intriguing is Eckler.
Yeah. Well, I may agree with you there just because of the pass catching prowess.
I love how everyone's trying to find this thing because Turns out that Nathan was being facetious, but he did say, I do remember the fifth of whiskey bet. And Dan said, I remember the bet, not sure the episode.
Look, I'll say
Lucas doing some research says 923 is wrong. There was no live stream on 923.
All right, I'll save everyone the work. I remember, damn it. I remember betting something about MVS, and I remember being bullish on MVS. I actually thought he would get like 800 yards. So I remember, what did I say that I'd get you? What does it say? Just whiskey, bourbon?
Under 750 yards, MVS bourbon whiskey, Matt Connor.
Okay, I'll make that happen via Drizzly.
I went 5-0 last year in season-long bets. I was pretty strong there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What's your best gift in return? Like, what was the best bet?
I don't know. Adam Best, his mustache was pretty good. I mean, his mustache was great.
Oh man, y'all made me present my receipts. Sucks. That makes you all good viewers. You're on the side of truth and justice. Go ahead.
I want to ask you this. This is a good one from Jeremy. I want to ask you this.
Yeah.
What's top dollar for a running back? 12 or 13 mil. And he goes, absolutely would do that instead of a middling wide receiver, which I guess brings up the question, would you pay? No, I'm posing this to you. Would you pay Saquon Barkley 12 mil a year? Or would you pay Darnell Mooney 12 mil a year?
Oh my gosh. I wouldn't pay Saquon Barkley half that. I would pay, look, here's what I have a long list of what I want the Chiefs to do. At running back, what I would like the Chiefs to do is to make a draft pick somewhere early day 3, like round 4, round 5. I'd like a decent pass catching running back to take over for Jerick McKinnon. And I'd love to see a 2-year, $8 million deal for Zach Moss. That's what I'd like to see. I think Moss could carry the team if need be. I don't trust Pacheco in terms of injuries over the course of a season. I also don't want to replace Pacheco. I think Pacheco and Moss could be a nice 1-2. Remember, Zach Moss was second in the NFL in running heading into November when John Taylor was out for the Colts. Christian McCaffrey was number 1, and then Zach Moss heading into November until Jonathan Taylor came back. So, to me, I trust Moss to be able to get it done. If Pacheco can't, he could spell Pacheco and keep him healthy for 20 games in a year. And then I would draft a nice patch catching back to be reliable there, and I would have a more stable backfield than the Chiefs have had in years. I'm done. I'm done with Deneric Prince and LaMichael Pirine and the ghost of what Clyde was supposed to be. I want a whole reinvention there other than Pacheco. What do you think?
Do you think Tony Richardson has anything left in the tank?
Love it. Maybe he's the Nigerian Nightmare too.
Yeah, I think that
maybe we're just going to put that phrase on everyone. I love Tony Richardson, man. He was awesome to watch. Did you?
Oh, yeah. That's why I've always said this about Chiefs fans before we bring on Richard to do the must list. Why I think Chiefs fans, for the most part, are so understanding and of the game of football in general. Why they put such an emphasis on understanding the offensive line that I think no other team does. Like, I think the Chiefs fans in general are so understanding of how you have to win games in the trenches. Yeah. It's because that's how they won games back in the day. Now, it didn't translate to Super Bowl victories, obviously, but because the offensive line was so good, they were able to win 13 games in a regular season. Like because the offense was so good, they were able to have these electric running back after running back after running back. Like, I do think there's something to Chiefs fans growing up, at least a lot of my age, and even your age. I know you're older than me, Matt, but you remember those teams so fondly. Like, the offensive line was such an integral part where everyone knew every single offensive lineman's name. Everyone remember the fullback's name. You look around, like, Mike Allstott, and that's about it. Right. But Tony Richardson was that guy, like Will Shields, Willie Rowe. Like, everyone remembers Brian Waters. Like, it blows my mind. And that's why I think Chiefs fans a lot of times have a great understanding and grasp of the game of football, because they understand it's built in the trenches. It's why we love Creed and Trey Smith. It's why we love Joe Tooney, right? Yep. We understand. And Mitchell Schwartz got his due in Kansas City. We never got his due anywhere else.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Hey, I'll say this. I'd never want the Chiefs to get too sentimental when making their moves, right? It's bad for business when you get emotional about your moves. But the fact that the son of John Alt is sitting in this year's draft when he was such a great tackle for the Chiefs for so long, I could totally be convinced to package a couple first rounders and move up and get the son of John Alt just for the story of it. I just, he's one, it would lock up left tackle for good. And two, it's a hell of a story. So yeah, I mean, it's bad move, but yet I'd still cheer it.
One thing I want to get to before Richard comes on, I know he's ready, is Nathan says, I'll never forget watching Priest get the all-time touchdown record. I agree. And then I remember Sean Alexander breaking it the following year, or was it 2 years after?
What a jerk.
I interviewed Sean Alexander on Radio Row, and I told him, I go, Sean, I got to start here. I got to let you know, you broke my heart as a kid, breaking Priest Holmes' record. And he just laughed. He loved it. He's like, I'm glad I could do that. It was fun. So I want to let Chiefs fans know I stick up for Priest Holmes and let Sean Alexander know that it was disrespectful to break Priest's record.
The Lord's work. You're doing it. You're doing the good work, man. Let's bring in our friend Richard. We've tackled Sneed. We've taken care of Chris Jones. We've analyzed free agents before free agents. It's time for the must list, folks. This is the part of the show where we talk about what we have read, listened to, watched, discussed, whatever, tasted, anything that we want to recommend. This is the time that we throw it out there to you. And by the way, I've taken in some recommendations from our viewers over the last several months. It's fun to hear from you too. So if you're out there, you're like, I heard this great band or saw this great Sterling. What are you pointing to?
See that Arrowhead Addict circular wood piece? Shout out to my guy Joe for doing that.
That looks boss.
Joe D, the guy who emailed you, then you had him email me. He did that. He sent me that. So I want to give Joe a huge shout out. Now you're on the centerpiece of the drumhead wall. Not a drumhead. Looks like one. Appreciate you, Joe. It's cool.
Hey, I hooked you up with that. I forwarded you that email.
You did.
That I don't know what goodwill that gets me toward that bottle of bourbon, but okay, never mind. Am I a man who tries to weasel out of the bets he made? Yes. I would have told you that even before making that bet. Anyway, I'll pay you. I'll pay you that bourbon. Dang it. All right. Anyway, man, this show makes me more have more integrity. I hate it. Anyway, must list. Welcome, Richard. How are you, by the way?
I'm doing great. How are we doing, gentlemen? And hello, viewers. Hello, audio listeners as well. It's good to see all y'all.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. We have an early must list, by the way. Josh Clayton, commenter. I recommend Operation Mindcrime by Queensryche. Can I just go in on this too? Because
top 5 favorite album, dude. That album
is like the concept album of all concept albums. I love it. I love it so much. Richard, have you heard Mindcrime?
I have not heard of Operation Mindcrime, nor I've heard of, but I've never listened to Queensryche. But I've known of this band.
It just takes a minute. You'll feel no pain. If you know what I'm saying,
dude.
It's so good.
The best concept album of all time. I don't want to hear The Who. I don't want to hear Dark Side of the Moon. Nope. I don't want to hear another Brick in the Wall. I don't want to hear. It is Operation Mindcrime by Queensryche. Joshua, yes. I'm pretty sure I had that as a must list, like one of my first ones I've ever done.
Yeah, we've done it before.
It's too bad that the band broke up into 2 different segments. Because it's Jeffrey something or something Jeffrey. And
Jeff Tate. Yeah.
Jeff Tate, yeah.
Yeah, that sucks. Sterling, let's start with you, man. What's your must list for tonight?
Yeah, I'm going with Cage the Elephant's first album. Came out in 2008. Cage the Elephant. Still one of my favorite concerts I've ever seen. Some of the Beaumont Club in Kansas City. I know I've talked about the Beaumont Club before here in KC. No longer there, but as a kid growing up here, it was a big part of my childhood. A lot of fun. But In One Ear, James Brown, Ain't No Rest for the Wicked, Back Against the Wall, Backstabbing Betty, Judas. That album was just so good. Such a different sound then than what they are like now. They're a little bit more, kind of vibey back then. There was very like kind of like punk rockish a little bit. It was awesome. Dude, that concert was sick. And in fairness, he was on a lot of drugs and he got cleaned up. So I'm sure that probably had something to do with why their music's a little calmer now. But it was a blast.
Nice. Richard, do you want to close out the show? I can go and then you can close.
No, that's okay. I'd rather not.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll go next. Let me go next. Thank you, Connor. The honor, really. I want to recommend. I picked up some Criterion films. I don't know if you guys ever watched their stuff. They got flash sales every once in a while. They had 50% off, everything. So I picked up Adventures of Baron Munchausen. This is a favorite of mine when I was a kid. I don't know if you two've seen this or any of.
I've never seen that.
Terry Gilliam's films. The guy did like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Brazil, 12 Monkeys, all those fun films. This one is about Baron Munchausen. I think he's like a literary character who goes on wacky adventures, and it's just like straight out of Terry Gilliam's mind. It's a man who just goes to the moon, who goes, gets captured by the King of the Moon, who's starred by like Robin Williams, like a super early Robin Williams, which is credited as Ray DeTuto apparently because of some agent beef that they wouldn't allow. There's like a young Uma Thurman's in there. It's just a really fun, imaginative film. Terry Gilliam has a great mind. If you've seen anyone has seen any of his films, I'm sure somebody out there will have a favorite.
Yeah, 12 Monkeys, right? He did 12
Monkeys. Too. Yeah, I mean he's got an amazing filmography. At least everything pre maybe 2000s. But yeah, he's quite the director, and that was always a favorite of mine as a kid because it's kind of safe for children. There's a lot of weird, questionable stuff as I was rewatching it. But I used to love it because it's just like it's like a little adventure film. A little girl goes along with Baron Munchausen. They fly to the moon. They go to the center of the earth. They fight the Turks. It's good kid fun.
Is it a Jules Verne book? Like, what's going on here?
Kind of. It feels like a Jules Verne adventure at the end of the day. But it's very imaginative. As if anyone has seen Terry Gilliam, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. There's just It's like a living cartoon. So that's why I enjoy it. So Baron Munchausen, The Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
ADG says Baron Munchausen and Time Bandits are the perfect double feature.
Yeah, those are both really.
So you have some
films.
backup here.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to see most of the Oscar winners, if I can, or Oscar list. I just watched The Holdovers. Have you guys seen this?
I haven't gotten to it yet. That's the one with I forget his name. That the guy from Sideways.
Paul Giamatti.
Giamatti. Yes.
Paul Giamatti. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's his third film or so with Alexander Payne, who did Sideways, and then he plays an old sort of stodgy, curmudgeonly teacher at like a prestigious boys prep school, and he has to like stay over Christmas break with all the kids whose rich parents don't want them to come home for Christmas break. So they're like stuck there on campus with him. So it's like one lunch lady to cook for them, the stodgy old man teacher, and then like 5 adolescent boys who are like all stuck together over a Christmas break. And it's called The Holdovers. And it's both like endearing and hilarious and like really kind of packs an emotional punch too. It's great. So it's Alexander Payne, who always just has this wonderful nostalgia. I love Giamatti anyway. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, check it out. It's not my favorite Oscar film yet. That would be Past Lives, or maybe Oppenheimer. But yeah, Holdovers is great. And with that, I guess that's it. Folks, you've been listening to the Arrowhead Addict podcast. We will all wait with bated breath on what happens to Chris Jones, what happens to Sterling's winning bourbon, what happens to L'Jarius Sneed on the tag. It's going to be a busy week. We're going to be here for it. By the way, be on the lookout for maybe some specially timed podcast. If news breaks and things get wonky, who knows? We're here for you all the way through, as always, dedicated as ever. For Richard, for Sterling, for myself, stay tuned tomorrow and later on this week for further shows from all your favorite hosts. You know who they are and when they're up. And we'll see you next week at this time. Go Chiefs.